Hi there and welcome once again. I'm thankful you're here. This is Jennifer McGuire and I have another video for my favorite crafty things of 2019. Today is all about crafty tools. Now in this video, I'm not going to be including die cut machines because I will have a separate video dedicated just to that that'll be out in a few weeks. So stay tuned for that. But this video will cover all the other tools that I recommend this year. Also remember that over on my blog, I have exclusive discount codes, more information, links to videos, everything you need to know, and I will provide that link below. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into crafty tools for this year. There are so many different tools that I use in my craft room, but these are the ones that I feel like I really need to use almost every time I craft. And my first suggestion is definitely one that I think helps every stamper be a better stamper, and that is the MISTI stamping tool. This is a stamping platform, and it helps you to get better results every time. There are many techniques you can do with it, and you can even double stamp images in case it didn't turn out the first time, or in case you wanted to make the image darker. This can be used with clear stamps, and it can also be used with cling stamps. All you have to do is remove the insert from the inside when using cling stamps. It can also be used with raw red rubber stamps that don't have the cling material, and I'll link here to a video that shows how to do that. The surface is magnetic on the inside, so you can hold your paper as you're stamping. Now, the newer MISTIs come with a bar magnet instead of the two single magnets, and I like to put tape on it so that it's easy to lift up. If you have an older version that didn't come with a bar magnet, you can buy those separately now, and I highly recommend doing so. I use my MISTI on probably every card that I make because it helps me to stamp faster and to stamp better and to waste less. Now this is an investment. This is a higher price point item of the things that I recommend today, but I think it is definitely worth it. And whenever I find a new stamper, I suggest they not go crazy buying a ton of inks and a ton of stamps, but first to start with the MISTI and with just a few stamps and inks so that you can have this from the get-go, because I do believe it's that helpful for stamping. There are several accessories available for the MISTI, and there are a few I wanted to mention. One is that the MISTI comes with a pad of grid paper that fits inside of the MISTI. However, I recommend replacing that with the MISTI Mouse Pad, which is sold separately, because this will last you longer and it cleans easily. And you can use it either way, with the grid surface showing or with the black surface showing, which I like to switch out. Also, if you're not a fan of the pink rulers on the side of this, you can cover those up with a white ruler sticker or with teal ruler stickers. So you can personalize your MISTI to be what color you want. I just left mine as pink, but those are available. One tool that I do recommend getting for your MISTI is the Simon Says Stamp Grid Transparency. This is inexpensive but super helpful. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it has grid lines down the center. And then there are grid lines that are 1/4 inch separated. What you do is you put it in your MISTI over your card, and you can use those grid lines to make sure your image is straight. Once you have it straight, you can close the door on your MISTI, and you know your image is set to go. You can also use it to make sure things are centered and evenly spaced. Also, if you're arranging stamps on your card, sometimes they want to stick to your finger. Well, the transparency will hold those stamps in place until you close the door on your MISTI to do your stamping. So it's definitely a wonderful tool to have if you have any kind of stamping platform. Again, it's very inexpensive, and as you can tell from mine, it'll last you a long time. I also recommend having some high-quality acrylic blocks in your collection. I prefer the Gina K Designs Comfort Blocks for several reasons. There are grid lines engraved on them, and they're lighter weight, so they're more comfortable to use. Also, the edges are completely smooth, so they don't kind of push into your fingers as you do your stamping. And if you've stamped a lot with an acrylic block, you know that that can happen. There are more sizes and shapes available than the ones I'm showing here, but these are the ones that I use the most. If you're going to stamp with acrylic blocks and not use a stamping tool like the MISTI, I do recommend a few other tools that can be used for other things too. One is the T-Ruler. This is another very inexpensive tool that I use on almost every card. By putting the edge up to the edge of your cardstock, you can make sure you can have a straight line. You can make sure you can draw a straight line. You can easily measure the center points. Many things you can do with the T-ruler, which I've shown in many videos. And you can use it to help with stamping. So you could take the T-ruler, draw a soft pencil line wherever you want your sentiment to be, then put the stamp onto an acrylic block and stamp along that line. Another tool that will help with stamping with an acrylic block is a stamp positioner. This is another inexpensive tool that's very helpful, and my favorite is from Art Impressions. The stamping positioner has these two pieces, the L shape and the clear guide. So let me show you quickly how to use this. I will link to a video that shows in more detail how beneficial this can be for stamp layering, and I'll link to that here. All you do is you put the guide into the corner of the L shape. I've inked up my stamp on my acrylic block, and I put the block into the corner of the L and stamp down onto the guide. Now that'll be wet, that's okay, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now you take this guide on your card and you put this sentiment wherever you want it. So I'm lining it up kind of down here on the bottom. You can use a pencil to help or a T-ruler. It doesn't matter. This is just to help you position where the stamp will be. You hold the guide where you want it to be stamped. Put the L shape back up against the corner. Then you're going to take your stamp, ink it up again, and then stamp into the corner of the L shape. So watch, I'm going to stamp down there. Now I'm not removing the L yet, because say I stamp this and I didn't do a good job, I can ink up my stamp and stamp it again right on top. So it's very helpful in getting a great stamped image. So I still use this stamp positioner even though I do have the MISTI. There are times where I prefer this, but having one or the other would be beneficial for stamping. So I encourage you to look into them. Earlier I shared the T-ruler as helpful in measuring and getting things straight. Another ruler that I like is the Lawn Fawn 12-inch ruler. This is very helpful for anyone who struggles with getting the perfect measurements. On one side it goes from 0 in the center out to the edges, and on the other side it goes from 0 up to 12. What's amazing about this ruler is that it has measurements marked all the way down to 1/16 of an inch. So if you're one of those who likes to get measurements perfect or like to do interactive cards that have complicated measurements, but you struggle with it, this can be very helpful. So you can see all the marks on there. I know some people wished that the marks weren't in white. I have heard you can rub black acrylic paint over it, wipe the excess away, and then the markings will be in black. So that's another option for you. This ruler is very handy, and I know many people have said it has helped them tremendously with getting measurements right. Every crafter needs a good pair of scissors, and I tell you, I have bought and tried every pair of scissors out there, and I have many that I like, but I boiled it down to my two favorites for today's video. First, we have the Tim Holtz Haberdashery scissors. These are newer. They came out this year. There are Tim Holtz scissors that look very similar that came out a long time ago, but these are different. These have a smooth blade. The older ones had a serrated blade. Now these scissors cut like butter. They're so smooth. And they have titanium coated blades that are perfect for cutting fabric, but I just use them for my everyday crafting with paper. They have a soft grip handle, which is easy on the hands, and there are a couple sizes available. This is the bigger size and the one that I found I reached for the most. They come in an adorable tin with this foam insert. Lila already stole the tin to use for something else, but I do keep the scissors in this foam insert because they're just so wonderful and they deserve that little throne to sit in. So if you're looking for a smooth, easy on the hand pair of scissors to try for crafting, these are great for fussy cutting. I highly recommend the Haberdashery scissors. I also like to have a bigger pair of scissors on hand, and the one that I reach for the most are from Fiskars, and honestly I bought them because of the cute handle, but I found that they've really held up nicely. They cut very smooth, and it's perfect for cutting along the edge of a card or somewhere where you need a longer blade. Okay, next up are paper trimmers. Now everybody has a different preference when it comes to what they need from a trimmer, so this is a hard thing to talk about. But I have two that I have used for years and I always go back to. First up, we have the Tim Holtz trimmer. There is a bigger version of this available with a big handled blade that comes up, but I feel more comfortable using the smaller one. It's lightweight, it's inexpensive, and it is a workhorse. It holds up over time and can cut even the tiniest slivers of paper. As I said, I've had this guy for a long time and he still continues to cut. The blades do stay sharp. There's this clear piece here that is a grip so that when you put your paper under it, you can hold it in place as you cut. In addition to the measurements at the bottom and the top of the trimmer, there are 1/4 inch guide marks engraved into the background there, so you can use that to help make sure your paper is straight and measure easily. The arm on this is very easy to lift and cut with, so you can see here how I can quickly go through and cut a bunch of slivers of cardstock, which I like to do for my cards. I like to add little thin strips like that. You can do that very easily with this trimmer. This is the trimmer that I use, I would say 75% of the time, maybe even more than that, because it cuts through a couple layers too. So this is a workhorse, inexpensive. I do recommend this one, but there is the bigger size available if you prefer that. The other trimmer that I use is the Fiskars Reinforced Paper Trimmer. I've used a style of trimmer like this for a long time, and this is a newer version that came out a few years ago that has a metal bar where the blade slides along, and that way it cuts straight every time. Sometimes trimmers like this will cut uneven because the bar flexes, but this bar does not flex, and the blade smoothly glides along it. This is great for 12 by 12 cardstock. It does have an arm that swings out so you can measure longer pieces. It is lightweight, and you can see there are all different types of markings on there, so you can cut perfect for whatever size card you're doing. The blades for this will need to be replaced over time, and you can buy replacement blades. I think I've replaced mine once, so they do last for quite a while. So you don't have to worry about that. It's very easy to change the blade out also. I reach for this trimmer for a few reasons. I reach for it when I have a bigger piece of cardstock because I can swing that arm out. So maybe if I have a 12 by 12 inch piece of cardstock. I also use it when I want to cut a thin strip of cardstock to an exact size, because there is measurement over to the right of where it cuts. So you can see here I'm measuring to 1/4 inch, and then I can run my blade and I know I have that exact width that I need. Another perk of this trimmer is you can actually use it for scoring. So that dark gray line there that's vertical, that's where the blade runs. There's a little ridge there or indentation. You can actually score along that. So say I want to score this piece here, I can run my bone folder right along that ridge, and I can get a perfect score with this. There's a scoring blade, but I would prefer to score this way. So if you don't have a scoreboard and you want to save, you could get this trimmer and use it for both cutting and scoring. Speaking of scoring, one tool that I've used a lot this year is this Scor Buddy scoring board. I like the small size of this, and the measurements are clearly marked, so it makes it very easy. Now this scoreboard actually comes with a scoring tool that fits in that open spot on the top there, but I don't use that scoring tool. Instead, I like to use a Teflon bone folder, which I'll talk about in a moment. Here you can see the easy measurements marked along the top. There's even little notations at the common use scoring line, such as 4 1/4 inches. Let's do a scored note card here. This is a very thick cardstock. This is Brutus Monroe, Not Your Mama's cardstock. It's 130 pounds and very heavyweight. I love this stuff. Some people have asked about how to score this. This is how I normally score cardstock. I put the paper in the corner of my scoring tool, and I run my Teflon bone folder along the line that I want to score. And I like to go back and forth a few times. This creates a valley or an indentation. Now to fold this, you want to fold backwards. So watch, I'm going to fold it back, and then I'll use my bone folder to reinforce that fold line. This will prevent you getting any cracking or fuzziness along that fold line. Now, if you have a paper that tends to crack, or you're using a really heavyweight cardstock, you could also do this. You can run your bone folder along the measurement and go back and forth a few times, then flip it over and do the other side. Go back and forth a few times. As always, you want to fold opposite. So I've got a little valley there. I'm going to fold it backwards, run along the fold line, and you'll have a perfect Scor folded note card. And about the Teflon bone folder, it's one of those higher price point crafty items that I really feel is beneficial if you're making a lot of note cards, because it does do such a better job scoring and giving a nice fold line. So be sure to find the Teflon bone folder. You really want the one that has the Teflon in the name. Okay, let's next talk about work surfaces. By far, my favorite work surface is the Tim Holtz Tonic Glass Media Mat. Now, I just bought a new one to show you what it looks like when you get it. It comes with these little gray corners that you want to go ahead and remove. Now, the other thing that it has is a white craft sheet that sticks to the work surface. So it comes on a piece of plastic, so you want to go ahead and remove the plastic. Now, the way this white craft sheet works is it sticks right onto the glass mat wherever you want, and you can do any kind of inky techniques on this. However, I'll be honest, I don't use this white craft sheet much. I just do all of my work on the glass mat. However, if you want to keep that white craft sheet, I'm going to show you a trick for that here. Looking at the back here, I just take my craft sheet and I stick it right to the back. So that way it's always there and I can always get it out if I want. And I put some tape on it just to make sure it doesn't come undone. You'll also notice here there are little feet on the back of the glass mat so that it's raised slightly from your work surface. The overall size of this is 14 by 23 inches. Now, the black work area in the center is what you see in all my videos, and that is 12 inches by 14 inches. Along the bottom, it measures from 0 to 14 inches. Along the top, the 0 is in the center, and it goes out from there. And then you have measurements along the side of the area too. That white area on to the right is so you can mix up paints and things and see the true color. I love working on a black grid surface, and I'm glad to finally have this. The printing's on the back side, so you don't have to worry about the grid lines wearing over time. I do everything on this work surface except cutting with a craft knife. I don't want to worry about scratching it, so I just do that on a different work surface, but all my painting and inking and alcohol ink and everything I do on the surface because it's so easy to clean up. Folks have asked why I prefer working on a black work surface. That's because most of my crafting is done on white cardstock, so the contrast is there and it's just easier to see. By the way, this year, Tim Holtz has come out with a travel size version of this. Look how cute this baby is. It actually comes in a bag, but I'll be honest, I just bought this to show you and I can't find the stinking bag. It's somewhere in my craft room, but it does come in a cute little bag, so you can take this on the go. There is the mini sheet that you can stick on there to work on, but again, I like to tape mine to the bottom so it's there for safekeeping. There are those non-slip little feet on the back so it can be put on your work surface and stay put. The overall size of this is approximately 16 inches by 10 inches. And I forgot to mention, this is really cool, this size and the bigger size that I just showed you now come in a left-hander's version. So it has the white area on the left side. So I thought that was cool that they now offer both. The reason I recommend this travel size is I always take my craft work out of my craft room, like I take some coloring with me or some gluing into the family room or whatever, and this is easy to pick up and go. Also, if you've watched my videos, you know that I like to use a cutting board to tape my watercolor paper to when I do something wet and inky, so I can take it from my work surface and let it dry. Well, now I'm using my travel glass media mat for that too. I can do some inky taped down watercolor paper on it and then pick it up and move it off to the side while it dries. So it's just a handy tool to have. Another work surface you'll see me use in videos sometimes is the Waffle Flower Water Media Mat. If you prefer to work on a white surface, this is a good option. It's non-slip, waterproof, and heat resistant, so you can do lots of things on this. You can put this on your work surface and it won't slide around, and it has those little wells to the right where you can mix up watercolors and get your ink ready, and then do all your inking on the center area. But what I like to use this surface for, since I don't do much watercolor, is I like to do my ink blending on it. Because of the nature of this work surface, it kind of holds your paper still while you do your inking, so you don't get little fingerprints in your wet ink. So here I'm just using a blending brush and some ink to apply some ink to the corner of this to show you that it kind of holds it for you, which is really a fun way to do blending. You start off the work surface and put your extra ink there. Work your way on, and then you can go back and pick up some of that ink that you tapped off. It does wipe off easily. It will stain over time, but it doesn't affect the use of it. So every once in a while you'll see me pull this in, and it's usually for my ink blending. Okay, let's move on to some other tools. This is the anti-static powder bag. If you do any kind of heat embossing, you definitely need an anti-static powder tool. And I've recently switched to this powder bag, and I really like it because I can control how much comes out very quickly. Also, if you have something that's a little too sticky, you can tap that on it and it will remove some of the stick or kind of cover up some of the stick. But it definitely makes a huge, huge difference when doing heat embossing. One powder bag will last you for a long time and it's inexpensive. Now I wanted to do something here. I'm going to make a little fingerprint over on the top left here. Just make a little fingerprint with some ink. Put some embossing powder on it just to demonstrate what you can do if you get stray embossing powder where you don't want it. So now that I've got a nice stamped image and a mistake on there, let's go ahead and heat set it. I recommend getting a good heat gun. This is another one of those things where if you make an investment on a good product, it makes a huge difference. I like the Hero Arts Wagner heat gun. Rumor has it that this will be discontinued and a newer one will be coming out. I have used it and both work wonderfully. These get good and hot, so you don't have to worry about warping your paper by spending too much time with the heat gun on your embossed image. What I do is I let it warm up for about 20 seconds, then bring it to the paper and you'll get beautiful embossing. By the way, this is a Brutus Monroe embossing powder. I love his powders. Sometimes they put a little haze around your image, but once you heat set it, you can wipe that haze away and you get great results. Okay, now looking up closely here, you can see my little mistake. I got some powder where I don't want it. To remove it, I use my Couture Creations Creative Detailer tool, which I've used a lot in videos. This is an electric eraser that spins and will rub away that excess embossing powder. So you just spend a little bit of time on top of the area with that tool. Now I'm going to pause this here. If you look, the top half of my mistake has been removed because I used that tool. The bottom half I left there, so you can see the big difference that it made. You could use a regular eraser to remove this, but I find that the detailer tool works better. You could use a craft knife to scratch it away, but I find that I damage the paper too much. So this tool has been helpful for that. Another option you could use to remove that excess embossing powder is a mono sand eraser, which I've been using for years. It's harder to get into tight areas with this if you need to remove some powder, so I prefer the detailer tool, but this tool is also handy. Now, while I'm here with these tools, I wanted to talk about the other ways that I use them because I do recommend them. First of all, the detailer tool. You can see when I push the button, the tip spins, which really makes it easy to use. You can also take the tip out and replace the little erasers, and they come with a bunch of them that I think will last a very long time. I also use these tools to remove a light amount of ink. Now this isn't going to remove like a solid stamped image because that's soaked into the paper. But if you have a light little ink print like I do there and some soft inking like I have on this card, this can remove some of it. So I'm just going to press the button and kind of hang out over the area for a bit. When I tilt this in the light, it's kind of hard to see in the video, you'll notice that I have removed some ink from the area I use this tool. And I can also remove that light fingerprint that I have. Now I've been getting questions about this tool. Some people saying that it's not working for them. This will not remove heavy fingerprints or heavy amount of ink. It's only anything that's light and on the surface. So those little goobers that you might get with your fingerprint by accident, this can help with it. It's great for removing adhesive and it's great for removing those little stray bits of embossing powder. So if you need heavier amounts of ink removed, then you want to reach for your mono sand eraser, which I don't use as much anymore now that I use the detailer tool. But the mono sand eraser is heavier. It's a little more abrasive and it sands away the top of the surface. So you can use that if you have more ink, but it will kind of change the texture or the surface of your paper if you use it too much. That doesn't bother me. I'd rather keep a piece of paper that I have already worked on and just have a little sanded area, then pitch it and start over. But regardless, these two tools have been very helpful to me in the craft room. Okay, next let's talk about inking tools. Now, I just recently did a video that talks all about different inking tools and comparisons and when to use them and what I recommend. Instead of repeating myself here, I will link to that video on the top right and in my description below, so I encourage you to watch that if you want to learn about the different tools. But regardless, I do recommend having blender brushes. There are many on the market. I just have two here that I like. In my left hand is the Honeybee brush, and in my right hand is the Trinity brush. I do prefer brushes with white bristles so I can see what color I've kind of assigned to that particular brush. I use the blending brushes when I want to apply a soft amount of ink and do quick blending. If I want to put down a heavier amount of ink, I like to use the good old-fashioned Tim Holtz ink blending tools. I've been using these for years and they're wonderful. You can remove the foam from it and replace it or switch out colors if you need to. This again is great for putting down those heavy amounts of color. So again, I encourage you to check out that other video to learn more about these options. I have one die cutting tool I did want to share in this video, and this is the We Are Memory Keepers weeding tool. It has this spinning portion that's good for getting pieces out of your dies, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. On the side are two tabs. One tab causes this little lifter piece to come out so you can kind of scoop up your die cuts and move them. And then the other one, when you push that down, a little piercer comes out, which is super handy that they're built into this tool. I've been using this off screen a lot just to test it out and make sure I liked it before I recommended it, and it really has been a helpful tool. So here's how I use it. I'm just going to use a background die. This one's from Altenew. I run my cardstock through my die cut. I use the piercer to poke the die cut out, so there's little holes in the dies to do that. To remove those excess die cuts, I use the wire spinning portion. I can put my die cut upside down on a cloth and use this on the back, and all the little pieces will pop out. And I can also use that on the back of a die. I like this particular tool because the wire spinning portion, I don't know what you call that, is really durable and it holds up nicely. So I've been using this and you'll see this a lot in future videos. Okay, for a water bottle, I've used many over the years, but the one that I reach for the most is the Tim Holtz Distress Sprayer. I actually have a bigger bottle of water, the squeeze bottle, that I keep in my cabinet so I don't have to run to a sink every time I need to refill. The nice thing about this particular Tim Holtz sprayer is you can press it partially and get bigger drops, as you see here, or you can hold it up higher and press firmly and you can get a mist. There's also a lock button, so you can press that to lock the spray. And I just like that it's a large size bottle, so I don't have to refill it as often. Okay, my next crafty tool recommendation is the Studio Katia triangle tray. So I use this for many things. One way that I use this is for my gemstones. I use gemstones and pearls a lot. You can pour them in there and then easily pour them back into your little container. You can also pour them onto your glass work surface and then just take them all and scoop them all back into that tray. So I just put the tray right on the edge. This is how I normally use it. Scoop them all back in and then easily put them back in your container. It's just a handy tool for small gems, die cuts, whatever. I also like to use it to scoop my embossing powder because you have that large straight edge that you can pour onto your stamped images. It just makes for better, quicker embossing for me. Now these are the Studio Katia triangle trays. There is also a bigger version, which I'll link to, but they're close in size and both work wonderfully. Speaking of little embellishments, I wanted to next recommend the Jewel Picker. Now I use the Jewel Picker along with a strong liquid adhesive to add embellishments to my cards. So I use this on a lot of my cards. There are two ends to it. There's a small and a big, and honestly I just use whichever end I grab first. And they have a little stick to them so that you can pick up your little embellishments and add them to your card. So you'll see here, I'm just kind of spreading out some jewels here. I'll pick them up with the sticky end and then put it right into my drop of adhesive. When I'm done, I can scoop all those little gemstones into one of those triangle trays and put them back into my container quickly. Now, some folks have mentioned that their jewel picker ends up losing stick over time. If that were to happen to you, what I recommend doing is taking a baby wipe and just cleaning off the tip. Sometimes just adding a little bit of wet to the end of it brings back the stick. I don't have any problems with this. Sometimes even when I wet the tip, it's too sticky. See how it wants to hold on to those gems? But you can bring those tips back to life, and I've found that it's lasted me for many years. Next up is the PenBlade retractable knife set. If you need a new craft knife, I like this one a lot because it retracts nicely. You can buy them individually, but I like the 3-pack that has the sharp tip, medium-sized blade, and then the larger blade. These again have lasted me a long time. You can see they're all inky, but I do recommend having that retractable blade just to make sure you don't have any accidents in your craft room. My next tool recommendation is one that I shared in my stencils video, but wanted to share it here too. Whenever you're applying any kind of gel or paste over a stencil, as I'm doing here with Glitter Glitz, it's best to spread it with a stencil pal. That's that white piece that I have here. Look how quick I can spread an even layer over my stencil. It's such a game changer to me. Then you can scrape off the excess and put it back into the container, and then just wipe the stencil pal off and you're good to go. Such a helpful tool when doing stenciling. Next up is the ThermoWeb 1/2 inch purple tape. Now I find this really helpful for crafting because I can hold my die cuts in place or hold pieces together temporarily. My roll's running thin here. It comes with much more tape on it. And I like to put it into a tape dispenser. That's the pool colored thing here. I will link to the particular one I use, but you could use any tape dispenser or just use it without a dispenser. I keep my extra pieces stuck to the back there because you can reuse these pieces over and over. I find that it has the perfect amount of tack to it for using with paper. If you have a sensitive paper that tears easily, you could first remove some of the stick from this by just placing it on your hand and then pulling it away. And again, you've seen me use it many times in videos. It's a great product to add to your crafting. Okay, apparently we're supposed to clean up sometimes when we craft, so let's talk about cleanup tools. I am a big fan of microfiber cloths, and I will link to the ones that I recommend. They're inexpensive and can be reused over and over, and I use this for about 90% of my cleanup in my craft room. Once they get inky, I just throw them in the wash. They will stain, but they wash nicely and I can use them again. Whenever I get a new clear stamp, I like to rub the surface of the stamp with a microfiber cloth, and it gets it prepared and ready to take ink and stamp beautifully. So these, I have a bunch of them. I have like 15 of them. I use them and wash them and use them again. Highly recommend microfiber cloths. I also do have baby wipes that I use. I don't use them as much. I'm trying to be less wasteful, and so I only use them occasionally now. But I do recommend the Kirkland baby wipe brand. This particular brand doesn't leave any fuzzies behind. It doesn't have a strong smell. It's just perfect for crafting and cleaning off your stamps. Another thing that I like about them is after I've used it a little bit, I can kind of tuck it back in under that lid and keep it where it'll stay a little wet, and then I can reuse it. So I use my baby wipes over and over again just to get a little more out of them. Also, if you want to clean a stamp and clean it really good, or even clean your acrylic blocks, use Hero Art's Ultra Clean. Now, I usually just wipe my stamps clean with a microfiber cloth and I'm good to go. But if you're one of those that really likes to clean your stamps, one spray of this and then wipe it with a microfiber cloth and you are set. It's a great stamp cleaner, cleans off your acrylic blocks. It's just something handy to have in the craft room, and I've had that bottle forever. Another crafty tool that's made my list every year is a hand vac. I recommend having some sort of hand vacuum in your craft room. This is the one that I use and I've had for many years. It folds up nicely and it sits on a charger so that you can recharge it in between each use. There's a little button that you press to swing it open, and then it'll suck up anything. So I just put some stuff on my work surface here, some embossing powder, little die cuts, and you can see how you can quickly use it to pick things up. And I use this to clean up my floor, my work surface, everything. It's always sitting out. Now, when you need to open it, the side opens easily. I don't really want to open mine here because it's really gross, but it does empty easily, so you can use it over and over. All right, a few more random crafting tools that I recommend. The first is Gina K Masking Magic. I do most of my masking with this product because it is very durable and it holds up so you can use it over and over again. So if you create a mask for an image, you can save it for future use. So here's just a quick demonstration. I'm going to do this quickly. You can stamp right onto the surface, cut it out, or use the coordinating die. Then you peel off the mask and place it over your stamped image, and then you can do any kind of inking or stamping on top of it. I like that you can slightly see through the Masking Magic product so that you can easily line it up with the stamp image behind it. So here I'm just putting some quick ink over it, and then you can easily remove that and save it for another project. I do keep my masks in with my stamp set so that I can easily find them. So if you're one of those who likes to do masking, I recommend checking out Masking Magic. There's another masking paper that I use if I'm doing just something quick or I'm doing something bigger. I use Avriel removable adhesive sheets. So these are big 8.5 by 11 sheets, so you can create larger projects. But I find this more of like a 1 or 2 use kind of thing because it's paper and the ink will bleed through eventually. It just won't hold up. If you need it to hold up, you could put clear packing tape over it before you cut or die cut it so that it is reusable. But then it adds bulk, so in that case, I would prefer the Masking Magic. But the Avriel removable adhesive sheets is an inexpensive option for masking. Another great tool for the craft room is Glad Press and Seal. This is actually meant for the kitchen. You take a piece of this and put it over a bowl of food and you can press it to seal it. So it's like saran wrap, but better. And I do feel like I need to say this. I've mentioned that my husband was the inventor of Press and Seal. We don't make any money from Press and Seal. He just gets to keep his job, and actually his company sold the product to Glad. So he's not at all associated with it. That's not why I'm sharing it. I'm just sharing it because it's a great product for the craft room too. So basically you tear off a piece, and when you press this down, it sticks. So here's where I like to use it. Say you're arranging a bunch of die cuts on the front of your card. I'm just doing a quick example here. Once you have them arranged without adhesive, so you can move them around, you lay the press and seal on top and press it down. When you press it, it sticks to those die cuts, and then you can peel up the whole piece, and you have all the die cuts arranged perfectly. You then just flip it over and put adhesive on the back. You could do foam tape, or as I'm doing here, just quick drops of liquid adhesive. Then you can pick up the piece, take it over to your card, and place it down wherever you want. Leave the press and seal on there while it dries, and then carefully peel it back by folding it back, and there you have your perfectly arranged die cuts. And you can save that piece of press and seal to use again and again. So if you have never tried press and seal, I encourage you to do so. Okay, my last recommendation for a crafty tool is a laminator. There are many laminators out there that work great, so you can try whatever you have. This is the one that I use, and I'll link to it below. I always use it in the hot setting. Now, one of the best ways to use a laminator in a craft room is, say you do an inky piece like this one, and it has lots of warping to it. All you have to do is put it into a piece of folded typing paper, and then run it through your laminator. The heat and pressure will actually flatten that, and then you don't have your warping anymore. Another reason I use a laminator is to add cool foil or flocking effects to my cards, and I'll share a bit about that in my next Favorite Crafty Things video. So stay tuned for it, but regardless, a laminator is definitely a good tool to have in your craft room. So there you have it, a closer look at the crafty tools that I recommend for this year. I hope this was helpful in taking a closer look at what each has to offer. If you want to find out more about each product, I do have them linked in my YouTube description, but you can also go to my blog, which I'll link here. It has a lot more information for you, including some exclusive discount codes and giveaways. If you'd like to check out the rest of this series, I'll have the playlist linked here. I appreciate this time that you spent with me. I hope it was helpful to you and that you have a wonderful day. See you soon.